Hey everybody, Tommy PVS here. I'm thrilled to be joined by Miss Tiffany Newsom, who I have known for several years now. Um, we have done things like this in the past, but I don't think we've ever done it in this group. And I really wanted her to come on and just spend 3 or 4, maybe 5 minutes talking to you all about an amazing email she sent me last week. We had been chit-chatting a few weeks before, and she wrote this amazing email. And basically she said, I have an FU network. And it's so perfect, and I'm going to let her describe it. But I didn't know what she meant at first. And then I read it, and I was like, oh my God, that's brilliant. Yes, I love it. And I was like, people need to hear this. This can't just be shared with me. So Tiffany, I'm going to hand it off to you. I can't promise I won't ask a few questions. But tell the group what you meant when you told me you now feel like you have an FU network. And when I say F, I mean UCK afterwards.
So basically, in case you haven't heard of FU money, that means when you're in a situation at work or a situation in life that you don't like, you just say FU and walk away without having to worry about supporting yourself in the near future. And so, and if you are, unless you're very lucky and won the lottery or trust fund baby, it generally takes time in order for investments and compound interest to accumulate enough returns to have FU money. So, little background. Now, into my story. So, I recently went through a situation at work that made me realize I have an FU network. A couple of months ago, like about 3 to be exact, I started having trouble with my manager and my job. Years ago, I would have not spoken to anyone about this except for maybe my best friends. I would have assumed they were just being nice and not believe me, and I would have assumed that it was me and I would have worked way too hard to salvage a bad situation. However, for the last 3 years that I've worked with Tommy, I've been working on gaining network skills and growing my network from scratch. So, this time, when the situation started, I went to my network. I asked if the situation was, you look like you would ask a question.
No. I'm just loving the story. No.
I asked if this situation was normal. It wasn't. I asked what I could do to protect myself, what they would do if they were in my position, and also I had a big ask. I asked for help getting a new job. So none of the people I spoke with were a friend of a friend or someone aunt. All of these relationships were built over years from the ground up via networking. So I have my mentor, about 2 years of networking, my career investor, 3 years of networking, and feedback friends, about 2 years of networking, and so on and so forth. So in financial investing, it takes a long time for compound interest to really take off, and for most of the work in your returns and investments to,
No, you're fine. Keep going.
Okay, to take off and do most of the work in your returns and investments to have a return.
Right.
And so I think that's the same thing with networking. So I've known Tommy for 3 years. For years, I learned from Tommy. I worked hard. It didn't look like I was making any traction to build my network. I would meet all these wonderful people, learn a lot, cultivate relationships, and it didn't look like it was paying off. However, after 3 years of the network compound interest finally started to take effect. And I have a DC story. I was able to find a new job in 2 months, making more money than I ever thought I would. My network, which took years to cultivate, gave me advice, connected me with decision makers in the company, helped me negotiate my salary with inside information that I did not have access to. And so my DC story is now, I went to grad school. I was able to gain full-time employment at the company I interned with during my last semester, and I worked there for a year. And I moved on to a second company after a year. However, I'm sharing the details of my real story with you all because we hear about the beginning stages of networking and then the payoff. I just want you to know that it might take luck and years of constant and hard work to build your FU network, but it works and it's worth it.
Absolutely. And what would you say this 3-year journey, what was probably the hardest part of all that?
It's doing all. So first you learn and you're excited in the beginning because you're learning all these things, but then it's the long time of just still doing the work, still being consistent, and thinking not having immediate tangible payoff.
Right.
Like, I remember calling you and be like, I don't know what I'm doing wrong, and you're like, you're not doing anything wrong, you just have to keep doing it and being consistent.
I remember that conversation, yeah. And I think you also sell yourself a little bit short, because in the beginning, when I met you, you were an intern. And so I think your network did help you get your first post internship paid position.
Actually, when you met me, I was first day of grad school. So I
First day
didn't
of
have an
grad
internship
school.
or anything.
Wow. Okay. So we got the internship, then you got the job that you, when it got somewhere you didn't want to be anymore, you were able to switch. And I just love how like modest you were. Like it wasn't just a salary increase; it was like 30% or 40% more. And it like at an organization, I'm not going to say it because you haven't. That like I've legitimately heard of and is really cool versus a place you were working at, which was fine, but like I don't like no one's ever heard of them. So I mean, like you made this amazing move, and right, it wasn't. You did it. You did it through relationships, and I want you to share with everyone as we end up. What did you tell me right before I pushed record about it being posted?
So Tommy always talks about online applications. So with this position, they had talked to me about the position. They basically created a position after we agreed. I was taking the position, agreed on salary, everything was done. They had to create the position and have me officially apply online. However, I just checked today. So I've been accepted this position
Probably a month
a
ago.
month ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, a month ago, and the job opening posting is still online and is still listed as open.
Based on my experience, at least 200, if not 400 people have probably applied to that job.
Yeah.
That's not real at all.
Yeah.
You networked your way into it, and I'm just curious how many Ivy League degrees are like sitting in that portal that will never even be looked at because like you already have it because you put people ahead of jobs. You didn't focus on the next job, you focused on people. So what would you say, and this is going to be a selfish plug, but like tell the folks in like 30 seconds like what started this journey 3 years ago, like what made this click that you realized, okay, I'm going to go about it the right way even if it doesn't pay off in the first 5 days.
So I had been stuck in retail, and so to get out of that, after the last economic downturn, and so to get out of that, I went to grad school. But I knew just going to school and making good grades wasn't going to do it. And then I saw you give a speech on the first day in orientation, and you said, "Don't be the person who goes to grad school with 4.0 and not knowing anyone." And I knew that stuck with me because I knew that's exactly what I would do. And so that's when I was like, I have to talk to Tommy. And it paid off.
And I know you get embarrassed when I say this, but that was a huge auditorium, right? It wasn't like there was like 10 of you. I think there was probably, 300 people in that auditorium? I wrote my email address on that board. You were the only person who emailed me.
And for the people who are nervous, because I was super nervous about networking, I was like, oh, I'm probably bothering him. He probably got a lot of people like emailing him. Don't be nervous. Do it. Just do it.
We all think these people are getting hounded with like help, wanting to be networked to every day, and they're not because no one does it anymore. And I mean, what is 1%? 1 out of 300. That's like 1/3%. Actually, like, I literally said, here's my email. I'd love to talk to any of you. And you were the only one who did. And not that, like, I'm magic or my advice is, like, anything special. But, like, you wanted it. And you wanted help. And you realized, like, that was a sign of... And you were willing to overcome whatever made you nervous. And that small step, like, look what it started. That chain reaction. Talk about compound. It's that notion if you put $100 in the stock market at 22, it can be like... What is it they say? Like $300,000 when you're ready to retire. And that's what's happening to you. You're not going to have your dream career because you did something brilliant one time. It's taking these tiny little courageous steps, one after the other, after the other, after the other, and it just builds on itself, just like you said. So thank you for sharing that. I think people need to hear these real stories that they're not getting at the career events, and they're not going to get this at the networking happy hour whenever we have those again, because people don't share this stuff, but this is what people are out there doing. People with good jobs are doing it the way you did it. So if someone's watching this and they're feeling pretty stuck, and they're sitting there thinking, well, what the heck, I get it. She networked and built relationships, but like, I don't even know how to do that. And like, what was this presentation Tommy gave? I'm gonna make a plug. Like, I still do that presentation. I actually do it in webinar form now, since I can't go out into the world. So I'm going to say, if you want to hear what I told Tiffany back in the day and kind of started all this, just comment below. and I will send you a personal message, and I'll send you the link for the next time we're doing it. I don't know the exact next time we're doing it. If I hear from a lot of you all, we'll do it next week. If not, maybe in a week or two. But what would you say to somebody who like just heard that and they're like debating whether or not to like comment below?
So like I said, I started this first day of graduate school. The stuff that Tommy told me was more, like, just as, if not more important than the stuff I learned in graduate school. And a lot cheaper.
Yes. I did not charge you $65,000 for that advice. You're correct. Yeah. Yeah. No loan forgiveness needed.
Exactly.
Yeah. Very cool. Well, thank you, Tiffany. I'm so proud of you and excited for you, and like just can't I mean, I can believe how far you've come, but it's fun to finally see it on the back end. And you sold yourself short. You've been doing great things up until then too, but yeah, now's super really exciting point, and that's why I wanted to get you on here before you start this new job and you're too busy to talk to me anymore. But thank you, and I hope I see some comments below.